And we were joined for the balance of the hour by Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, who served 2 tours in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq. A lot of really interesting stories you can tell to give you the perspective of a soldier, and really likable guy like all the combat soldiers I've gotten to know. I don't think I've met any of them that weren't really nice, down-to-earth people who also weren't naive because of what they've seen in country. It's like a lot of my family are veterans of combat and special operations type things, and they're just like, of course the government ships in the drugs. Of course big banks launder money. Of course all this is going on, because they saw it. Going back to Vietnam, you name it. It's only the naive public that really doesn't know what's going on, but he's going to tell us some of those stories about the DEA and some of the shady stuff he saw that really primed him to know what was happening, and maybe even tell the story about how he joined the Army. He told us yesterday for Obama deception too, but it was all very interesting. I thought we'd get him to talk some about it today. And then, because he's already been on 3 times about this, talk about Hastings, because right on time when he got to town, it broke on the local San Diego TV stations and in some newspapers that Michael Hastings was investigating CIA Director John Brennan. And there's also other intel he's got from his sources, some of the other friends there, with Michael Hastings when he died. It's a big deal when an award-winning journalist who says he's going into hiding and on the run, and less than 24 hours later his car blows up, and then we're told, move along, it's no big deal, nothing to see here. That is a big deal. So we're going to talk about that with Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs at the bottom of the hour. Buddy, it's good to have you here and meet you in person. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me. What do you think of the INFOWARS operation? It's pretty neat. It's a lot bigger than I expected. It's pretty intense. It's everyone's pretty motivated and dedicated. I like it. They're an incredible crew, and not every TV radio studio has 50 cals. Yeah, I definitely got to hold on to 2 of those yesterday. That was pretty nice. Next time you're down, we got to go out and do some shooting. Oh, definitely. I'll be done with Obama deception, and it'll be a little bit cooler. Not that you can't handle heat. Where was the hottest place you ever served? Kuwait's definitely the hottest place. I didn't serve there, but you stop through there. It is a toasty place. It goes from about 120 down to about 60 degrees at night, so that's a huge temperature change. It definitely shocks your system a bit. I bet. Yesterday, I wasn't even really intending to get into this stuff with you for the film interview, but you started getting into how you started to really wake up. Tell folks some of the shady things, without getting anything, quote, classified, that you witnessed. I mean, you perfectly described it, how they'd have you as a diversion over here, and then meanwhile, this would be going over here with the DEA, and how some of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, you were saying, was fake, but then some of it was real. That amazing story about the phone books in the walls with the list of who they were going to kill in the U.S. I mean, you've got the floor, Staff Sergeant Biggs. Break down your service, what you did, and some of the things you witnessed. Well, when I joined with the intentions that most people or most guys did when they went in, serve your country, no one, I, at that point, never thought that there was anything wrong with America. I was just gung-ho about it, and I was pretty blinded by, this whole perfect nation that I thought we had. And repeat how you walked into the place and what you said. Well, I woke up this one morning, I was like, I'm going to go do it. So I go into the recruiter office. I said, I want Iraq, I want combat, and I want to go there as fast as possible. What can you do? And the recruiter looked at me and he goes, well, you just made my job a lot easier. I said, I just want to do this. I need to get it done. It's something I have to do. And next thing you know, I was a basic training and then off to Iraq just a few months later. So, yeah, that was Let's get into the shadiness, then we'll get into some of the IED stories and stuff. But tell folks some of the first shady things you saw. Well, definitely one of the missions, there are real terrorists out there. A lot of people think that, that's kind of a fake thing, and they're not really out there. It's just us making that up. I went on a mission personally, and from what we were told, it was just an IED making facility, which is an improvised explosive device. And what we found out when we got there was it was a lot more than that. I would go through with the metal scanners, and we weren't finding anything on the floor, so we started going up on the walls and started getting some reads. So we started busting in through the walls, started finding shrapnel, passports, money, explosives, phone books, a New York City phone book with, names circled in it, all kinds of stuff. I mean, these guys had the money and the... And you said it was public figures and government people. Yeah, I mean, they had the means to do something, and luckily we were able to find that and stop those people from that. But specifically, the type of shrapnel, tell them what was in the phone books. In the phone books,
people you would hear on the news a lot. I mean, names like that, stuff like government officials, people like that were circled in there. The stuff, the types of materials they had were glass, like marbles. So if something did hit you, the shrapnel would go into your body, and if they scanned you, they couldn't find anything. So, you know, it was just a silent killer right there.
Yeah, because it's even hard, I guess, to get the metal out.
Yeah.
You've been a victim of that.
Yeah. Another one, we would get times where the DEA would come and stay with us and be embedded with us and go out on missions, and they would just be kind of, you know, we weren't allowed to talk to them until it was time to. When they did speak up, we would sometimes be asked to go down to opium fields and try to, you know, cut them down. Other times we were told to guard them, you know, and, you know, they would have us cutting down fields and then they would have us guarding ones. And that was just, I always thought that was kind of weird.
That's what I've been told by family that was in Colombia just a few years ago, that they have GPS grids where they spray the people that don't launder their money with the right banks. And of course, they had public meetings in Colombia back in '99 where they sent the Grasso, the head of the stock exchange, went down and met with the head of the FARC and said, you invest with us or we kill all your fields and invade. And then they didn't, so they kill their fields and then grow it and ship it in.
Yeah, there was always, you know, like I was saying, like there was this going on, what we thought we were doing, which is winning the hearts and minds. And then, you know, we had these, you know, operators that were doing something else on the backside. So we were this cover mission, and then these guys were kind of off in the back doing other things as well.
Was it mainly DEA? I mean, what would happen after you'd guarded? Because from what they've admitted, they would then process it, then ship it out, and it was flown out.
Well, a lot of times we would capture the people there that ran that, and then they would take them back and interrogate them. Maybe shake them down. I mean, who knows? We weren't really allowed to get close enough to hear what they were saying, but all you could hear was screaming. You could definitely hear that.
So torture?
Yeah. It's something, after hearing that, it's something I never wanted to be a part of, I tell you that.
How were they torturing them? Waterboarding or pulling fingernails out?
I mean, like I said, I was outside the building. All I could hear was just that, you know, so that alone, just the screams from a person.
I was told DEA uses electricity and little crank deals.
Anything was possible at that point. I mean, the yells that I heard, I've heard people get shot, and I've never heard that yell before. I've heard people, you know, scream from being stabbed, and the yells I heard from a person, those were just ungodly. And
they were wanting to know, I guess, where the stashes were buried too. That's worth a lot of money going in our daughter's arms here in the U.S. Yeah, I got to ship that in immediately. How often would they torture people?
It wasn't like real often, maybe every few months. It just, whatever kind of intel they would get, they would use us for covers to go run missions. And they would be like, oh, you know, we need to go over here. You know, we just have to let them go do their thing.
By the way, that's breaking news. So you would see DEA take farmers in and then torture them.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't call them farmers. You know, they would be like, these are Taliban people. And, you know, these guys would come in and they were all bearded up guys, you know, wearing all black, you know, special tactical gear and all that stuff. And they would take them in there and interrogate them and do whatever.
Were they CIA? Were they Navy SEALs?
We were told DEA, and then the other term they used was OGA, other government, you know, other government agencies. So.
Sure, to be clear, but I can show clips of Fox, CNN going, here's the Marine Corps commander, he helps grow the opium. Yes, these are just farmers. So they would call one group farmers, and the other group they would call terrorists. My point is that how long would the torturing go on for?
About an hour or so. And then they would tell us to take, you know, control over that person of interest, and then we would have to go take them to a main base, and then convoy them out there, turn them over to be detained, and then eventually they would get let go the next morning.
Oh, so it wasn't the long. I'm sure you read about, you know, you may have seen those special torture camps they had that are basically like hell houses. You heard about those? Mm-hmm. Did you ever see them bring kids into the hell houses?
No.
Because the Army report says they did.
Oh, it's possible. I mean, there was definitely a group of kids I would have liked to have seen going in there one time, because 3 kids marched a suicide bomber up to our gate, and the guy went off and almost killed quite a good bit of it.
Really?
Yeah, and those kids just took off. They acted like, because we saw them sitting there walking with this guy up to the gate, and these kids were kids we'd seen the whole time we were there, so they seemed friendly kids. They walk up with this guy holding his hands, and they're all just like, oh, you know, we've known this guy forever. And next thing you know, the kids run off, the guy throws a grenade and pulls a string and blows up. And all I could see was his scalp just floating down.
Wow. You know, the social engineers love war because it corrupts everybody.
Yeah. It's definitely it's not meant for everybody. It's a hard job to go over there, and you know, like I said, you go over with these pure intentions, but at the end of the day, truly all you want to do is get home, and you just care about your buddies getting home, and it kind of, you know, you're not all this, you know, God bless America, this and that. You know, right now it's at this point where there's so many bad things going on that you see, you're just kind of sick of it, and all you can do is just look at your buddy and be like, man, I just hope we make it out of this.
You know, that is cultural mind control, though. You don't even have to put them in a CIA mind control base to make them blow themselves up. To blow yourself up to try to, you know, kill people, it shows a high level of control. The media always calls them cowards. But for me, I don't think that's cowardly. I don't like what they're doing, but I don't think it's cowardly.
No, it's not cowardly. I mean, it definitely takes some cojones to be able to strap a bomb to yourself and, you know, be able to say that goodbye. You know you're not going to see your family again. And to have this mindset that you're going to go to this better place and, you know, you're really doing this for this pure reason. You know, I don't think...
Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, this is Powerful Radio. Stay there. I want to come back with more of your combat stories and the breaking news on Michael Hastings and the IED that I believe clearly took out his car in California a few months ago. I'm Alex Jones.